Hello everybody and welcome to our webinar. We're going to be talking today about managing challenging behaviour.
So what is behaviour? Behaviour is the observed reaction which occurs when an organism is given stimulus. Behaviour is also communication of need. Challenging behaviour is often described as communicating unmet needs. So whether it's good, bad or indifferent, it's a clear expression of our feelings and our needs.
We're going to be covering Maslow's hierarchy of need, which is a theory of motivation which states 5 categories of human needs that dictate an individual's behaviour. So firstly, we have our physiological needs, which is our biological needs for human survival, such as air, food, drink, shelter, clothing, warmth and sleep, etc. We then have our safety needs, so shelter, job security, health and safe environments. If a person doesn't feel safe, they will seek to find safety before they can attempt to meet any higher level of need. Love and belonging needs, so friendship, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection and love, affiliating, being part of a group such as family, friends and work. Then you have our esteem needs, so self-belief, confidence, strength, personal and social acceptance and respect for others. These needs are represented as one of the key stages in achieving contentedness or self-actualization. And then our self-actualization needs, which is the highest level in Maslow's hierarchy. The realization of a person's potential self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth and peak experiences. Maslow describes this level as the desire to accomplish everything that one can to become the most that one can be. Which brings us on to just a visual here of the Maslow's hierarchy of need. And as you can see, unless the very bottom of the pyramid is fulfilled on our physiological and biological needs, then you aren't able to move up the pyramid. And each stage that you move up means that you can more fulfill each need as the pyramid gets higher. Unless the needs at the bottom are addressed, you cannot move up the triangle. Here you can see a roadmap of the needs behind behaviour. So again, starting with the physical needs. Are they hungry, tired, thirsty, too hot, too cold? They might need exercise. That's often when they are bored. Do they feel safe or secure? Are they worried about anything? Is somebody poorly? Have they got any contact sessions set up with somebody in the family? Are they around anybody that gets angry, either at home or at school? Are they feeling connected? So do they have a good friendship group? And are they feeling connected to the wider family? So this is usually difficult when there are siblings. Do they feel that they count? Do they feel they're being listened to? Are their needs being considered? And are they being included? They want to show that they are capable. So do they feel they're making you angry? Is it a power struggle? Make sure you give them choices and responsibility. Do they feel discouraged? So if they feel like they can't do anything right, they've got low self-esteem, they're always giving up, make sure you encourage them to keep trying and break things into small steps.
So when we think about understanding their needs, we need to think about what needs a child could possibly have that's contributing to their behaviour. So like Emma said previously, are they hungry? Are they struggling with change? So we think about this as an example, maybe when a child comes out of school. Is there something we can do to mitigate that? Can we bring a snack? Are they tired? Do they have sensory needs? We will be completing another webinar in respect of sensory needs shortly. But if anybody would like some more information around sensory needs and how they present, there are some Facebook groups called Autism Peer Education for Families specifically. And on there are 3 videos relating to sensory needs. They're really, really good, very detailed and led by an autistic adult called Andy Smith, who's amazing. So definitely would advise for you to have a look. Has the child or young person had quality time with you? Do they struggle with demands? Sometimes a child can present differently at home and at school. So how are the demands put to the child? Are they bored? Do they feel safe? Do they feel included? And are they being expected to do something they don't understand?
We've got a video here from NHS Health Education England, which is just going to cover off some positive behavioural support.
So some people with learning disabilities or autism can sometimes use behaviour which we might call challenging behaviour. People can shout, scream, hit people, hurt themselves, damage property. It's not always easy to know what kind of advice to give, and without it, behaviour can become established very quickly. This film will tell you a little bit about behaviours which challenge and why a child might use them, and what kind of advice to give early on.
When Michael was born, he was born with Ringstein-Tabby syndrome, and he was diagnosed with autism when he was 5 or 6. And because he didn't have a good form of communication, he couldn't talk. So a lot of things he was relying on us to understand him.
The thing with Charlie, because of his understanding of things, it's really hard to make him understand what he's doing is wrong and explain it, and you can't tell him off.
He used to throw an awful lot of things, so you had to learn to duck very quickly. He would pick up, at one point he picked up the TV. That was fun.
Charlie is on medication. That can sometimes trigger challenging behaviour, because if we up the medication, it can then suddenly be like, well, why today can I not walk as easily? Why do I feel floppy?
So obviously I went and asked GP and health visitor and different people, what can we do about this? And they said basically terrible twos was always mentioned, but he was older than 2. So it was kind of, oh, well, it might be part of his condition. And I'm thinking, well, no, there's more to it.
He gets frustrated with his sister because she likes to play with stuff that he plays with. And we have to watch carefully, because he is such a big boy, that he's gentle with her, because he would never mean to hurt her.
All behaviour happens for a reason, and challenging behaviour is no different. So challenging behaviour can either enable somebody to get what they want, or help somebody to avoid or escape something that they don't want. We know that there's 5 main reasons why somebody might present with behaviour which challenges. One is to get access to something that they like, for example, a toy or a drink or a preferred item. 2 is to avoid or escape something that they don't want to do. 3 is to gain social attention. 4 is to gain sensory stimulation, so that means that they like the feeling of the behaviour. And 5 is to get some relief from pain that they might be experiencing.
So positive behavioural support is a way of trying to understand the reason for the behaviour, and then trying to come up with some ideas around best ways to support the person.
So say Michael's banging his iPad because it's gone off or something. It's trying to give him another way. Look, instead of banging it when you might break it, shout for mum.
So by understanding behaviour, by using simple things like an ABC chart, we are trying to chart when a behaviour is likely to occur, what might trigger it, what might have happened before it, and what might be happening after it, which might be the thing that keeps the behaviour going. You can really empower carers to think about how they can do something differently.
When completing an ABC chart, it's important to define very clearly what the behaviour is, and then identify what was happening just before the behaviour, so that's the antecedents, and then identify what was happening after the behaviour and what the outcome was for the person, and that's the consequences. When we start to understand the reasons behind a behaviour, we can think about strategies. Some of these strategies might be changing what happens before a behaviour, so changing the antecedents, the environment before a behaviour occurs. And some of these might be about teaching the person new skills or new ways of getting their needs met. Providing advice when you don't understand the reasons behind a person's behaviour can be problematic. For example, advising a parent to simply ignore their child's behaviour which challenges could cause problems if that child's behaviour is because they want social attention. If you don't teach the child another way, they're likely to just continue with that behaviour.
As a prescriber, over the years, historically, we've had very limited choices of controlling the situation where people present with challenging behaviour, other than to use powerful psychotropic medications, such as antipsychotics. We didn't know about, or we didn't have awareness about alternatives, particularly things like positive behavioural support, where we can actually begin to understand the function of behaviour and put plans in place to prevent it from escalating to becoming too challenging.
Behaviour is complex. It can be really, really difficult to work out a reason for somebody's behaviour, and we know that ABCs are just a starting point. Sometimes families will need a referral on to more specialist services who can then do more detailed assessment to really support that child and family.
And I think had we not done a lot of stuff that we've had to do along the way, his life wouldn't be this way at all, I don't think. And he's great. He's fab. He's fab.
So we can look at some preventative measures in the home to prevent challenging behaviour. And these are all around what you can do with your environment at home. So looking at routine, so visual family timetables are always really helpful for any child, so they know what's happening, what's coming next, different times of day. Breaking up the time, so going out for some fresh air, introducing some exercise and having set meal times, and sometimes changing those meal times. Sometimes you might need to prepare that change, but sometimes having your meal times in a different environment, maybe a picnic on the floor, can sometimes help just break up that usual routine, because some children really struggle with routine. Providing responsibilities, so letting them feel like they're involved in the household, so it's not all mum, dad and carers' responsibilities. They feel part of everything that you're doing at home. Having a worry-free zone, so introducing a calm area within the home, or even just a time of day to be quiet and practice meditation or mindfulness. Thinking about what we're grateful for, so reminding them all the time about all of the positive things that they've got in their lives. For younger children, things like bubbles can always be really positive, and also that can help for children with sensory needs. Blowing candles or pretending to blow out candles to help regulate breathing. For really small children, maybe placing a teddy on the chest and focusing on the teddy moving up and down, and also introducing some calming music. Lots of conversations and engagement with the young person, so making sure that you're talking about things openly and they feel that they can talk to you about any of their feelings, their worries, their fears. Talking about what's coming next. Always avoiding too much sugar. Foods that are high in refined sugar, are claimed to exacerbate hyperactivity and increase aggressive behaviour as well. And we need to think about how we are talking to them. One of the things that we're going to go on to now is really how we need to behave in order to support the child or young person. And actually, when we're managing challenging behaviour, what we're not doing is managing them and having an expectation on the child or the young person to change their behaviour. What we need to do is look at how we are behaving and how we can behave in the best way to support them. But always remember to fill your own cup, because if you're not in the right place, then you will always struggle to be able to manage, and you need to prioritise yourself.
So just thinking about that a little bit more in terms of our actions and our responses to challenging behaviour. Are we listening to the young person? How are we showing that? Are we showing that in our body language? Are we actually pretending to listen while we're multitasking because we're busy? How are we showing that child that we understand? We might not agree. Actually, no, you're not having that dessert 5 minutes before your tea, but I understand that you would like it. I understand that, and you can have it as soon as you've had your tea. Have you made time for that young person right there and then? That might not be the time to talk things through, but actually saying to the child, the young person, we can't talk about this now, but after we've done A, B, and C, we're going to do that. And the important thing, I think, is following it through. Support. Are you supporting the young person or the child? Do you appreciate them? Do they feel that? I think often as adults, we're often in the habit of talking to other people about the positives and saying, oh, they do this really well. And often I think we're all guilty of maybe not doing that directly to the young person and telling them how amazing they are. So actually you're filling their cup every day, not just taking away from it. Are we paying attention? Have we acknowledged their feelings?
And just something to have a look at here is the picture in the middle of this grid is a very sad child and not a child presenting challenging behaviour. And that's really purposeful, because what you might be seeing is, you know, a display of aggression and violence and frustration. But actually, this is exactly how they're feeling inside. They just don't know how to communicate that to you in that moment. And it's just always remembering this image and that's actually what you're seeing. And I know that can look very differently in challenging behaviour. And sometimes they just need to have the meltdown, and that's okay.
The other thing to be mindful of as well is when we talk about challenging behaviour, people can often assume that that means aggressive, confrontational, violent behaviour. Actually, what's challenging behaviour is you might have a young person who internalises sort of how they're feeling, who may become withdrawn, who may become quiet, who may struggle with selective mutism. So actually what we need to be aware of are those children that don't present in the typical way of I'm feeling like this, so I'm going to demonstrate it. It's the children that internalise how they're feeling and what their needs are. Those are the children we need to be mindful of too.
So thinking about how we're behaving when we're managing the behaviour that's in front of us, it's always being mindful of your own reaction. So what you say or do in response to someone's behaviour affects whether their behaviour escalates or stops. So it's thinking about your body language, how are you presenting to them, and always being really mindful in that moment of how you are. Being attentive, so when people feel ignored, marginalised or not cared for, they often act out. So this could go maybe for a teacher who is busy, they've got lots of children in the class and you're seeing some, you know, disruptive behaviour. If they feel as though you're ignoring them because you are trying to focus on other things, then that behaviour could escalate as a result of that. So it's making that time to be attentive. And I know that's not always easy, but it's something that we definitely need to be mindful of. An effective way to counter a person's anxiety is to validate their feelings. So making sure that we're paying attention, we're giving them plenty of space. Show through your face expressions and body language that you are listening to give them reason to regain control. Maintaining rational detachment. So that's not taking any negative comments personally. Remain rationally detached from the situation. Without the implementation of this skill, you may react instinctively or defensively, which will only escalate the situation. Remember what they're saying in that moment, they don't mean. They've lost control, they can't manage. They need you to help them manage and regulate their emotions and feelings. So don't ever take it personally if they say something that might upset you in that moment. Recognise your limits. Sometimes it's okay to have somebody else come and take over. If you recognise that you can't manage in that moment, it's always good for you to hand that over to somebody else, and that's a positive, not a weakness. Ensure that you are on their physical level. So if they're on the floor, crouch down to the floor with them. If they're sat down at a table, crouch down to their table. Make sure you always stay calm and use positive self-talk. So remind yourself that when you are the target of an outburst or a negative situation, that you're rarely the cause of that behaviour. There'll be another trigger that set this off. And then telling yourself that you know what to do will enable a more positive response. Rather than thinking I can't deal with this, then that will come across in your body language. Make sure you always debrief. So talking about what happened can help relieve stress. So it's always good to reflect on what worked well and what could have been better with other colleagues, but also with that child or young person, and seeing what they think might help them next time. So this goes on again. So our mindset is really important when we're managing behaviour, and if we're in certain mindsets, we're not going to be able to manage other behaviour well for other people. So we just need to be making sure we're looking after ourselves. And there's lots of different types of mindsets that we can be in all the time, especially after the last 12 months. That lots of these will be really relevant. So thinking about our mental filter. So when we notice only what our filter allows, for example, so anything positive or realistic is dismissed. Am I only noticing the bad? Am I filtering out the positive? So to relate that to this situation, you may always see, consistent challenging behaviour from one particular child. Is that all you're noticing about that child? Do you need to reflect on how you can look at other things that they're doing that are positive? And predicting, believing that we know is going to happen. This is really common, especially when working or supporting children and young people that are presenting with challenging behaviour. Have you been here before? Are you predicting what's going to happen next? That will definitely come across in your body language. Believing positive things that will happen is good. So thinking this is going to go really well, they're going to calm down really easily, I'm going to listen to them. And how likely is it that something really terrible is going to happen in that moment? And we just need to remind ourselves not to try and predict. Being critical to ourselves, so putting ourselves down, blaming ourselves for events or situations that are not our responsibility. So thinking in your mind that this is my fault, I can't manage this child's behaviour, all of that will come across. So we need to be thinking more positively and not blaming ourselves for things, and thinking that actually we're here to support that young person and it's our job to help them get to where they need to be. Mind reading, so assuming that we know what they're thinking, usually about us. So are you thinking in that moment that they don't like you? Again, this will all come across. Compare and despair, so seeing only the good in others, comparing ourselves negatively. That parent deals with their child's behaviour much better than me, or that other teacher's much better at managing their class than I am. And it's something that is natural that everybody does, but also we just need to be being a bit nicer to ourselves. Emotional reasoning, so if you feel bad about a situation and in that moment, then in your brain it must be bad because you're feeling like that. Feelings react to thoughts. Excitement and anxiety involve exactly the same chemical process in the brain. So your brain tells you how to label these feelings. So it's about retraining our brain and telling us that actually, no, this is anxiety that I'm feeling. It's not that I'm feeling bad.
So all of this connects to growth mindset. So Emma talked about sort of having different mindsets really before. And there are two distinct ones as well. So a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Now, why this is important really is that as adults, we're the ones that need to model this to the children and the young people, our own children and those that we work with. So fixed mindset is where you believe, it's a self-belief that your abilities are fixed. It's a negative inner voice that talks about comparing yourself to others. I give up easily. I don't like challenges. One of the common ones that we hear a lot from children and young people is, I'm not good at maths. I'm not good at this. That's a fixed mindset. So a growth mindset would be to say, I'm not good at this yet. I'm focusing on improvement. I learn from my mistakes. I can do hard things. I do my best. It's important to help others to adopt a growth mindset. And actually that's, each other, it's your children, partners, people that you work with. We all need to be leading by example. So we need to be saying to other people, you can do this. You try really hard. You're really good at this, or you're great at that. You might not have got it all exactly right, but do you know what? You tried and I'm proud of you. Positive affirmations.
Remember, there are no bad kids, just impressionable, conflicted young people wrestling with emotions and impulses, trying to communicate their feelings and needs the only way they know how. And we've got another video here that just adds to all of this.
Article 12 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child states, I have the right to be listened to and taken seriously.
Listening is not just hearing, but also understanding what someone is saying.
When I cry, I'm talking to you.
When I fall silent, I'm talking to you.
When I'm naughty, I'm talking to you.
When I don't do my homework, I'm talking to you.
When I laugh, I'm talking to you. But are you listening?
It's your legal responsibility to listen to me so that my voice matters. It gives me a chance to express what I'm thinking and how I feel.
But it's not just your job to listen and to act on what you hear. It's my right to be heard, and it's also your job to explain that to me.
What's stopping you from listening is the excuses that you're too busy.
It's the idea that my voice holds less validity than yours because you're the adult. It's not my fault if listening to me and working with me to help me understand what's happening slows things down for you.
The consequences of not listening are not just causing me to lose confidence in my own voice. Not listening leaves me vulnerable.
I might hurt myself or run away because I'm scared.
What if I get into danger because you didn't take time to listen to something that you should have?
I listen to others to show that as one person to another, they have my respect and I care about what they have to say.
I believe that the best way to be listened to is to listen to other people. When I'm not listened to, it makes me feel insignificant.
It gives me the impression that my voice doesn't matter and that I have no role to play in the future of my own life.
Give me time to open up and share with you.
Sometimes my voice needs influence. Help me with this.
When you find new ways to hear, you hear new things.
Give me an opportunity to share my voice with others, and when I can't, share my voice for me.
If I can't talk or choose not to, then you legally become my advocate. Listening to other people opens up my perspective.
Regardless of whether we agree or disagree.
I feel like I've helped them to know what they say counts.
When I feel listened to, I feel respected and I feel cared for.
It helps me to trust you with what I say and helps us work together.
Show respect for each other, create a safe space to talk, and listen where you and I feel equal.
I may be young, but we can stand shoulder to shoulder.
Ask me what I want. I need your support and someone to help me fight my corner.
Tell me what your decision will be before you go ahead with it.
Explain how this affects my life and tell me how the things I've shared helped you make this decision.
Don't keep secrets from me. It's my life you're talking about. I might not understand everything yet, but I'm the one living it.
So it's also just to remember to give time and space, sometimes going out for a walk for some fresh air, but obviously taking from that video, the most important thing in all of it is to listen and be present in the moment for that child or young person. You can find lots of resources and free downloads on our website, such as Managing Anxiety, Understanding Growth Mindset, which is www.greatmindstogether.co.uk. And we've also got an email address, which is info@greatmindstogether.co.uk. And if you'd like to speak to either Meg or myself or have any questions at all, you're very welcome to call our offices anytime, which is 0161 549 1169. So hopefully we've managed to answer as many questions within the chat as possible, but if we have missed any, we will be exporting them from the chat and posting the questions and answers on our website, because it will just be helpful to do some frequently asked questions on the back of this webinar. And thank you so much for your time today and watching our webinar, and we hope it was useful.
Thanks all, bye.